Hello and welcome to this week's Gig Harbor Market Update. It's the first week of March, so we're going to be talking about local housing data that just got released by NWMLS, and that's for the month of February. So we're going to digest some of February's numbers, and before I get into it, my name is Christian. I'm a real estate broker with Windermere here in Gig Harbor. Contact information is in below if you'd like to use me for any of your real estate needs. With that said, let's get into it. 1 month ago, I was talking about January's housing data, and I gave a small forecast of what we could see happen in February. And just a quick little synopsis of that newsletter is basically I said February is like a coin flip month, and basically we'll have two possible outcomes. Either that we'll have the fewest listings of the year in February, or we will see that January has the lowest listings of the year, and we'll see an uptick in listings in February, giving us this kind of an early indicator of what's to come in the spring housing market. Well, lucky us, we scraped by. Congratulations, hugs and pats on the back all around. February did see a slight tick up in listings, so we didn't see the listings continue to drop, which would have been kind of bad news for, I think, the whole season going forward. Well, this increase in listings does show promise that our spring season is going to warm up, and we should see considerably more activity coming. The Fed might have other plans here as they are raising rates again. And we just recently, I think 2 days ago, saw rates tick up over 7% again for the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. So that's kind of troubling. But that might have a different consequence than most people expect. So I'll talk more about that at the end of this video. So just stay tuned. We're going to go into this, the stats here real quick and see what's been happening over the last month. All right, let's jump into the NWMLS stats right here. We're already in the city of Gig Harbor. We're going to change to residential. We're also going to do previously owned only, and everything else we'll leave as it is. We can look back. Let's start with 3 months of data, 3 years of data, excuse me. And we're going to change this to a rolling 3 month here. See what happens. This gives us a much better picture of the current market cycles that we're going through, especially as the Fed is doing their thing. So we see here in February, we now have gone to $700,000 for the median sales price, which is down $2,000 from last month. A year ago, we were at $691,000, so we're up 1.3% year over year. So, but as you can see, there's quite the trend that has been established here, but we can maybe infer that we've reached our bottom here of the seasonal cycle, and we should most likely see an uptick here starting in March. All right, now let's jump into new listings, and this was the big kerfuffle from last month's newsletter, email, video, I guess. Basically, we saw we had 94 new listings in January, and that was, I believe it was all-time low, if memory serves. Yeah, that was all-time low. Look at that. We're about 50 listings short of historical averages. We did have a slight tick up in February of 7 listings, so you know it's kind of typical. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. It isn't infrequent to see such a low increase between January and February. But it is good news that we saw this slight tick up. But as you can see here, let's go back to 3 years. We are down still 30.8% below last year's February, where we saw 146 listings versus our 101. So we got lots of room to grow here in March here, coming back up to historical norms. Is that going to happen quickly? Probably not. We'll probably still see, sluggish new listings here. Before we talk about inventory, I would like to show days on market. And this is a pretty striking graph here. Let me make it even more striking, or boom. Okay, here we go. So basically what we see here is February now is at 51 days. So the median house stays on the market for 51 days. And that is in a pale comparison to what we saw, 6 and 5. So yeah, during the COVID frenzy, we saw, houses on the market for the weekend. Or, they could even be bought in within a day. That's changed rapidly here. Now we're at 51. And that is an increase of 750%, which I think February we saw 6 days last year. This is bringing us into historical range, but for the past few sensible years, we're gonna not talk about the COVID housing frenzy that has distorted things incredibly, as you can see by the 750%. We should see more of a month, but you can see that really the interest rates have knocked this number much higher. Now looking ahead at March, we do see the longest days on market here in January and February. Looking back just historically, we sometimes see a March that has actually a higher days on market than February. So what we could see is maybe we could see 54 days on market. You know, it really depends. Or depending on what the Fed does and how people respond, we might see a sharp decrease in days on market because buyers want to lock in their interest rates before they go even higher. So we'll talk about that at the end though here, but that's just something we're going to see. Basically, we're going to see days on market kind of flatline, or it's going to drop substantially here in March. All right, now let's talk about months of inventory or months supply of pending. That signifies how much inventory Gig Harbor has. So let's first change this back to 3 years just to see what's been taking place recently. Here we are now at 1.2 months of inventory. If you don't know what that means, it basically means that if no other house came on the market, all of the inventory that's currently for sale would be all bought up in 1.2 months. Last month we had 1.4 months of inventory, so despite our increase in or uptick in listings, we actually had more properties sell. So that means that there's more buyers than listings right now. So that's a good sign that the buyers are still here in Gig Harbor. Now, if we look over what's happened over the course of COVID, here we see that our 1.2 months is actually 300% higher than what we had here in February of last year, which had 0.3 months of inventory, which is incredible. And we can see that shot pretty quickly back up to 2 months. And now let's just look historically, because I don't really like using the COVID frenzy market as a good barometer. I think these months, these years are better barometers of where we should be. So here we saw in 2017 1.8 months of inventory, 1.4, and 1.6, and then here we had 1.3, and now we're at 1.2. So this whole decline, I mean, look at that. Look at that moving average. If we just rolling, let's do rolling 12. That amount of inventory decline has been ongoing, and this was very worrying. We've had a slight tick up, but I don't see us really coming back to an adequate amount of inventory. It just seems to be there's more buyers coming to Gig Harbor, and our inventory is just running low. And that's basically what this data shows me. Speaking about buyer activity, let's go look at shows per listing, and this will give us a picture of how many showings a listing has before it's sold. Okay, so this is over the last 3 years. Again, this is our COVID frenzy, so we saw an incredible 15 showings, and almost 15 showings. So that's a lot of traffic through one residence. Now, I would like to go back 10 years to see what's transpired over the last decade. However, this data only goes to 2019, and just using this data, we had about less than 2, or let's just say we had about 2 showings per listing before it went pending, which is, so we're still 3 times that historical norm, I would say. I don't know if this is historical norm or not, but we had definitely an uptick in the amount of showings per listing. So that's good. That means that buyers are coming through and looking at the houses. All right, I think with that data, it pretty much sums up. It gives us a clear picture of what's happened here in February and what we can expect. I'll conclude here and kind of give a synopsis. Basically, February's a new uptick in listing gives us hope that there's going to be a thawing of our current spring season. Housing prices seem to have bottomed. However, that is all pure speculation, and it's only based off of current Fed action. Should the Fed Reserve deem higher rates are necessary, then it's highly likely we can see prices continue to flatline or even drop, depending on just how many basis points the Fed does raise rates. There's been murmurings that the next FOMC meeting is going to see probably a 25 basis point hike. However, it's highly possible we can see a point or 50% or 50 basis point hike here coming in the next FOMC in mid-March. So that's something to be mindful of. Now, with this in mind, my forecast for March is we'll probably see a continuous increase in activity in our market. Now, to what extent, I think that depends purely on what the FOMC meeting entails. if they raise the basis points by 25%, we'll probably just see a slight uptick in activity. However, if they probably raise it by the 50%, I did it again, the 50 basis points, then we probably see even a higher uptick in buyer activity, because when you get approved for a mortgage, or right on the cusp, you get locked into a rate. And if rates are increasing and you have this, this little grace period to lock in your lower rate, that might push buyers into buying a house that they might not even, it's not their dream house, but it's just like, okay, let's get into a house before we have to pay even more for this. So that might push the buyers to decrease our days on market, so, substantially. So we'll see what's going to happen here as interest rates and buyer activity kind of compete for the low supply of inventory that we have. Okay, that's it for this update. I hope you enjoyed this information. If you did, please subscribe. You can hit the thumbs up button so more people that are interested in Gig Harbor's market can watch this. And with that said, let's go and look at what Zillow has and what kind of houses are currently available for buyers in Gig Harbor. Thanks for watching, and you can stop here or continue with me, your choice. Hello, thanks for continuing with me. Let's look at what's currently on the market in Gig Harbor to get a sense of our what kind of inventory is. It's not just numbers, right? There's actual houses behind the inventory numbers. So let's take a peek. I'm going to take my face away, and here we can see, oh my goodness, that's a lot of little chicken pox. Okay, so we're going to draw. I don't like to type in Gig Harbor because it excludes Fox Island. I like to include Fox Island. Okay, here we go. Here is our outline, and then we're going to do a couple of things here to, it says 169. It's a little bit high for us. We know that's not true. We're going to take off new construction. Then we're going to go home type. We want to do houses only. And then we're going to do houses that have only been on the market for 7 days. Okay, we see 14 active listings. So 14 listings, but we can do pending as well. So 3 homes that went live this week have gone pending, or in the last week. So this is 7 days ago. So anyway, so that's our current absorption. But there's quite a few still to choose from that have been on the market less than 7 days. Let's start with this one down here, and we'll watch it. It's not quite in this area where these houses tend to fetch a premium. 0.5 1, I believe. Still, okay, this is a large lot. 1.26 acres. The home, 3 bed, 5 baths, 4,600 square feet. Daily basement. I don't know. I think 1.85 is a little high. It's not even high bank. It's just a view home. But it is south. There's not a lot of view homes that are south facing, which is, if you take a look, there's south facing here and here and here, but a lot of the housing here and then along, this is too high bank, so a lot of these are not even on the water. So most of the ones that are on the water are here, and that's western exposure. Having that southern exposure, that's the best kind of sunlight, if you ask me personally. So that's very desirable. You got essentially sunshine and daylight all day, because here, maybe I'm going to get into it a little too much, but for example, here, if you live on Soundview, what's going to happen is, can I get a map? I don't think it's topography, but basically, this entire side slopes this way into the water, which is great for morning light, but as soon as that sun hits like 3 o'clock, that's the last time you see the sun, because of the hill that's behind you. So that's kind of a thing to take in consideration. If you want to have daylight all day long, like the actual sun, and not just like a ambient light, then you have to look for southern exposure, and that can get tricky. Thanks to our topography. Anyway, that was I digress. What else do we got? We got just to look at one house that's currently low bank waterfront for 1.5. See, the trick with these houses is a lot of them go to mud when the tide goes out. So despite being low bank, you're like, oh, look at the pictures, you're gonna have water in front of me all day long. That's not true. These are very much timed for when the water is the highest to make it look like it has water. the entire day. But that's not true. This will go to mud, and so you can't put a boat or anything here that'll otherwise. Well, you can put a boat if it can rest on the floor here, on the floor, the shore. The house itself is quite alright. Yeah, it'll probably go for 1.4, I'd imagine. For going for mud. If it was had an actual pier on it, and you could put a sailboat outside, it would fetch a lot higher price. But that's just if you have to require low bank waterfront, 1.5 is where you're looking, but it goes to mud. All right, now we're gonna look at our cheapest home, which is $625. Which is below our median sales price, which is of course $700,000. So this is quite the deal. I think this is a great little house, great little bargain here. It's got everything you need really. It's a great starter home. It's got a HOA of $30, 387 square feet, 1,600 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath. It's a quite perfect house for somebody who doesn't need much, and they're just looking for comfortable living out in Purdy here in I think this is Wellington Ridge. Quite nice little area. You can walk. It doesn't have a lot of traffic. It's a nice area to live if you want that peace and quiet, and quite convenient to major shopping. All right, now because that was our lowest price house, which is closest to our median, we'll have to look at this $800,000 house, which is going to be closest to our median sales price. This is a view home in close to downtown. Looks like you have a forest in front of you. It's too bad. But it does look, you have a little bit of a view here between the trees. Yeah, that's pretty nice. So $800,000, you can get a view home close to downtown Gig Harbor. That's a pretty good deal, I think. For a 3-bed, 2-bath, 600 square feet. You can see how much more this house costs than the other one, $475. It's a little bit high, but the prices do get higher as you get closer to downtown. That's right on Soundview, I believe. That's Soundview, yeah. So that's something to consider. Soundview does get pretty busy during the day, especially Fridays, and when there's an accident on 16, and a lot of people use Soundview as a way to go around the accident. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. Let's do this again next week. All right.